Hello, welcome back to Links with Friends. Today is February 12th, and we're doing business and social stories for the middle of your week.
I love our first story. It gives me hope.
Well, but it makes me ask, why did they ever have any? There's no reason to ever have any in the first place.
Majority of U.S. teens have lost trust in big tech. Oh, this is fantastic. Welcome to your home lab journey. Come with us. We've got lots of home lab content. You can build your own media server, your own music server, your own document storage thing. It's going to be great because, yes, big tech is designed to milk you for all your work.
We're going to have to teach them file structure first. Like, they don't understand folders yet.
So 64% don't trust big tech to care about their mental health and well-being. Any corporation could be substituted in there. 53% don't think that the companies make ethical and responsible design decisions. Well,
yeah, obviously.
The dark patterns. 52% don't think they will keep their personal information.
That's a low number. Yeah.
So I think the real headline here is teens still very misinformed about big tech.
Yes.
They probably just don't think it doesn't, like, oh, who cares? It's just me. But it's like,
I'm also blown away by the Samsung weather application, for example, is like, I need to know your exact precise location in order to give you the weather. And it's like, no, you don't. You can do that with a zip code. And a zip code is probably even too much.
Expect that to get worse with the downfall of Noah.
Well, that's a dark pattern. And like, as a teen, you should look at that and understand, like, yes, they want to visit horrors upon me by asking me for more information than they really need.
And I don't know, maybe the teens, maybe this kind of headline never gets to TikTok. Maybe they're just not exposed to it. But if they're still confused, that other 48%, read this. This should clear it all up for you.
Google retracts promise not to use AI for weapons or surveillance, prompting employee backlash. Are we the baddies?
I think Google has... When did they redact, like, don't be evil? That was a long time ago, right?
See, the mind-blowing thing here is that you don't even need to use AI for surveillance. There's all kinds of tools you can use without AI for just crippling, pervasive surveillance. Think about the warrants that we cover where it's like, we want to know everybody that was in this fairly large geographical area for a 24-hour period. And that is just a select statement against Google's database. That already exists.
Yeah, but you have to actively decide, okay, I want to search this area, I want to do this. Now all of that can just be automated. Like, there can be an AI just looking in the background and be like, look what I found today.
An idiot AI is like, I think there's drug deals going on here. And it turns out it's just,
Do you want me to help you fill out a warrant application? I can help you with that. And this was a kind of a big story that was not all that. There was no press release or anything like it. It was just they put out, I think, earnings or did a call or something and presented. And they were like, yeah, here's one thing that we don't have to worry about anymore.
ARM has given up on killing Qualcomm's vital chip license. They reserve the right to re-engage at some other time, but...
The editor's sub-headline there is pretty good.
The British are coming to terms with their loss. ARM still thinks there's some hanky-panky going on with the whole, Qualcomm acquisition, but Qualcomm has for now legally outmaneuvered ARM, which is amazing. But also, if you're an ARM partner, you have to be looking at this saying, what is going on with inside ARM?
Well, I think they just don't want to throw resources at it anymore. Right? They're accepting defeat. At some point, you have to. And will another company be accepting defeat soon? I mean, they're already pretty beaten down, but we now have the numbers to show that they are losing all of their dominance.
The Tom's Hardware headline is AMD outsells Intel in the data center for the first time in Q4 of 2024. But sales of the Instinct GPUs disappoint. I don't know if I agree with sales of the Instinct GPUs disappointing, because if you look, like, we have a couple MI210s, like a couple, which is, ancient GPUs at this point. They're now worth double what they were when we got them because supply. And that's not even, that's an old model.
Well, you're really going to hate this one.
AMD promises mainstream 4K gaming with its next-gen GPUs as current-gen GPUs. These are the ones, that they delayed. And so it's interesting. Available Q1 2025. We have a date now. It's the first week of March. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The 9070 XT, and the new naming scheme. So they want you to compare to a 5070 Ti and a 5070, maybe. I don't know. Although, NVIDIA is leaning into frame generation technologies. So you have a GPU, it renders a frame, and then AI coughs up a frame. Oops. And then AI coughs up a frame, and then it renders another frame, and then AI coughs up a frame. And ta-da, that's twice the frame rate. But it remains to be seen if gamers will tolerate that.
And this, I guess, is good news for everybody. And previously, this was Android exclusive, but now we can all enjoy that Starlink cluster.
Apple's iPhone to support Starlink direct-to-cell coverage in the U.S. Now, this is apparently only in super rural areas and areas where there's not enough interference that it can actually get a good enough signal to things in orbit. But still.
Areas that will now never get fiber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could pour one out in the chat. Here's the end of an era. Panasonic has given up on some of their output.
Panasonic shares jumped the most in 11 years on restructuring plans. So their battery division is doing really well. They sell to Tesla, but they're having to restructure it to try to make it more profitable. I like Panasonic cameras personally, but this is also like Panasonic electronics, not doing as well as Samsung.
TVs.
And TVs.
There will be no more TVs. And they're going to cut employment.
Yeah.
They're cutting some, was it like 1,500, I think?
Major restructuring.
And they're going to get out of some other technologies as well. They might sell off the TV business. And it's interesting that we get all these, yesterday we talked about banning children from social media and phones and all these various things. How much does that help? Someone has been studying it.
Mobile ban in schools, not improving grades or behavior, study suggests. So, turns out children all still have the attention span of something that doesn't have a long attention span.
A goldfish, perhaps.
But, interestingly, the time on the phone does impact it a great deal. So just using a phone by itself, you can still be relatively healthy, but spending all of your time on the phone, very bad for all of your things. Sleep, grades, socialization, physical fitness, everything goes down the more you use the phone.
I was thinking about this. I think that being able to focus on one thing for a long period of time is very beneficial while you're developing. Like being forced to do that as much learned as it's like the natural tendency is like, oh, let me bounce from thing to thing, and it's like you have to learn to like consciously deal with that.
I feel like it's important even as an adult. Like I dramatically prefer when I can have like a big block of time where I'm just devoted to one project and one problem.
It's critically lacking.
Yeah.
In our modern world. And some more bad news if you are, at this company because it's more cuts.
Salesforce cutting 1,000 roles while hiring salespeople for AI, including some developer roles. Like not only is Salesforce not hiring for which they announced in January, it's like, oh, we're not going to hire developers for the first time in years. They're getting the development done with AI.
And they're not alone.
Workday to cut nearly 2,000 workers on profit focus.
That's a rough looking chart. They just hired people.
Yeah.
And moving over to some software, we have, of course, the big October deadline looming. And a lot of people said, hey, I'm not worried about that because you don't have to actually get new hardware. That's just a suggestion. Not anymore.
Microsoft is cracking down on people upgrading to Windows 11 on unsupported hardware.
So Flyby is an app that will help you get past that.
Now marked as malware.
It's been flagged. And you cannot use it. I mean, you probably still can, but Defender is going to be like, no, I must delete this.
I think this is sort of mean. But also, imagine your operating system not working for you. Like, this is kind of a preview of the future. Microsoft could just, at some point in the future, decide, hey, we would like you not to have local PDF books anymore that are not sanctioned. And then they just start scanning your computers like, this is malware. It's like,
So you're using Firefox. You'll be using Edge now.
yeah. Well, it basically already does that.
Well, that's exactly what's happening here as well. But I think this, hopefully, please make it true, will drive people away. Because I think this may be a step too far, don't you?
uBlock Origin is dead for Chrome, but ad blockers live on.
I don't know how like some of my friends don't use ad blockers, and I'm like, how do you survive the modern
My
internet?
parents.
Yeah.
So this is sort of fun, like some meta content here. We did an ad for Opera because it was through Google. Like Google through Brand Connect was like, hey, you should do an ad for Opera, which is like, there's some details with that. But Opera, one of their selling points is a built-in ad blocker, and it's like, ooh, can I get into the impossible situation where the thing recommended from Google is the thing that Google frowns upon? Because like if we make a video on this, guess what?
This has not happened to me yet. I guess I didn't get this update yet, but it's going to be turned off. There is another version of uBlock that is V3 compatible, but it's not as good.
I use Firefox. I use Chrome for testing. But
And there are other browsers which will inherently block ads, like Wendell mentioned. So, time to give up Chrome.
I think
And-
Brave is probably the best choice there, don't you?
I've had some good experience with Brave. Yeah. And yeah, it's also apparently time to give up this. Is this because people are losing interest, or is it because they're broke and they don't have jobs because of AI?
Disney Plus lost 700,000 subscribers from October to December.
most of the comments I saw in this article were more the latter of like, I don't have any money for their constantly raising fees.
They have been constantly raising the fees, and the value is quite dubious. Do you know how cheap you can get a box of DVDs for at the local flea market? It's like, it's not a lot.
Yeah, but I don't think the new hot movies are coming out on DVD.
Well, that was another thing too. It's like I've watched everything on the catalog. Like,
And a lot of their recent releases have been flops, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, why would you sign up for that? Hey, you're going to release like 4 good movies a year? I can watch that in a weekend.
yeah,
And then I unsubscribe.
When are we getting Firefly remastered?
was that Disney?
No. Maybe.
I love the picture on this one. This isn't, I mean, you know, I don't see a huge problem with it because you can filter it easily, but the Japanese government, they don't see it that way.
Banks in Japan are blocking Steam payments for adult games, leaving Japanese adult game devs cut off from income. They're being debanked. This has happened in America, but it's also happened surreptitiously for also not good reasons. But there are game devs that just, it's like they're making money and everything's fine, but banks in Japan will not give them, they can't receive money.
Those poor artists.
What happened here in America was the bank was more than happy to receive the money, but then they wouldn't give it to you. Which is kind of wild how that works, huh?
And here's a crazy idea, right? Imagine if you ran a household and you went to the bank to take out a loan to save that money.
Yeah.
You're paying interest to save money. How does that make
That's kind of wild, like the
sense?
bank caring where you got the money. Like they shouldn't be allowed to ask that question by law.
Like you look at your neighbors and they have a fountain of money coming out of the ground and they have a savings account and you're like, I want that. But you're in trillions of dollars of debt. So you do it anyway.
Trump orders creation of U.S. sovereign wealth fund. It says that fund could buy TikTok. Now this article, this is Reuters too. They really missed something amazing here. I'm pretty sure that he's planning on moving all of the government-owned stuff, like buildings and land and probably the national parks, onto the sovereign wealth fund, which is probably going to be bad.
Oh,
Probably-
does this talk about the national parks? First NOAA and now national parks.
I think that's probably going to be illegal too, right? I don't know exactly how that works, but it seems like it should be. I think the Bitcoin is definitely going in there. Do we have
If
any
they don't
left?
sell it.
Did they sell it? I think Biden sold it all, right?
I don't know. If they did, it probably. If they did, I'm surprised it didn't impact the price because that would be a crazy amount of Bitcoin to unload.
Well, there's a lot of, partisan arguments going on right now. You don't know what's real and what isn't. But I think one hard fact that this last election has shown us, people love TikTok.
TikTok traffic bounces back despite being pulled off app stores and fears of being shut down.
It really is the circus, isn't it?
Is it still off the Apple App Store?
Yeah.
But it's back on Android though, right?
I don't know, but despite all that, it kept 90% of its. They can't bring on new users at anywhere near the previous pace, and they're still doing this well.
Eggs and TikTok is bread and circuses.
Well, Larry Ellison makes a lot of money from the U.S. hosting of TikTok. So I mean, he's a functionary now in the new government. I think he's on one of the boards or advisory committees or whatever they call it.
But maybe some people did sort of like, hey, I got to hedge my bets. If I can't get my addictive feed from TikTok, I better find another place to get it. And this also probably has a lot to do with the anti-Musk sentiment that is percolating in the country.
Threads adds another 20 million monthly users since December, reaching 320 million. I have to say, though, X does have a lot of like blatant algorithm manipulation. And then I go over to Blue Sky and everybody's like, are you checking out the blatant algorithm manipulation over on X? And it's like, what, do we really need to talk about X on Blue Sky? Like, let's use Blue Sky to talk about fun stuff.
Oh, no.
I just have stopped. I mean, I still have a Twitter account, but I just don't use it. And I'm like, do I need a replacement for this in my life?
It's hard for me to show you how excited I am about these new Raspberry Pi accessories when everybody is just so mad about everything.
Well, they are mad at one state in particular. By they, I mean the giant corporations, because this state has been pretty permissive traditionally, and now not anymore.
Meta in talks to reincorporate in Texas or another state. Exit Delaware, the Wall Street Journal reports. Because apparently Delaware is not giving them the legal protection and functional stuff that they want. And they see what Musk is doing in Texas, and they want that for themselves.
Gosh, call me crazy, but I feel like you should incorporate in the state where you do business and have your corporation, like your headquarters, right?
That seems reasonable.
Yeah. And here's a fellow who is bucking his boss a little bit, but he is speaking the absolute truth. And this is probably a lot more gentle than he's actually thinking.
This is very gentle, yeah.
Meta's CTO said the metaverse could be a legendary misadventure, quote, if the company doesn't boost sales, a leaked memo says. But
legendary misadventure makes it sound like oopsie whoopsie. Like we went on a side quest.
But let's also look at the meta of the company name Meta, as in metaverse. Like Zuckerberg believed so hard in the metaverse that they ran roughshod over the company that already existed that was called Meta, named the company Meta, and it turned out that the metaverse was not a thing.
And he did have some little bit stronger language. He actually said that 2025 could be a make or break year, which I take to mean I'm going to finally fight this as hard as I can if it doesn't take off this year, which it's not going to.
Yeah. This could be a make or break year for AMD GPUs as well. I mean, think about that. It's like, do we really want do we want NVIDIA to just, come on. It's going to be madness. You're going to get fake frames.
And we talked about this last week, and I was like, what records could there be that Meta might have used some nefarious means to get its training data? Well, it turns out there's more than we could have ever dreamed.
The headlines for this are amazing. Torrenting from a corporate laptop doesn't feel right. Meta emails unsealed. And I have to say, when I first heard about this, I got it completely wrong. I thought that Meta was just straight up pirating stuff for training their AI. That seems insane.
Not only were they pirating it, but they were taking steps, which are documented here, to mask the IP address.
Not only did they do it, they also knew it was wrong.
Oh,
yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And they knew it was wrong, and they really tried hard. They were like, there's going to be a record here of these seeds. How do we deal with that? And then they did what they discussed. So
what you're telling me is that I should go buy stock in all the book publishing companies because they're about to get $100+ billion stolen, probably.
I don't know. That's still a big gamble, though, right?
I mean, that's...
only if you believe in justice.
Here's the question on whether or not you should do that, right? Think about this. How many book publishers were there at the inauguration?
Not a lot. It is really wild, too, that, the whole, everything that's going on that we talked about in the government section with Doge, and it's like, is this against the law? This seems like this would be against the law, and it just doesn't seem to matter. It does really seem like there's a two-tier system, doesn't there? Because, if I accidentally cross 6 inches out of a crosswalk, somebody could make a big deal about that. But here we have, the government is not supposed to function in this way. It's like, don't worry about it. We're just going to get it done. That's weird, isn't it? It's really weird.
We saw 2 elections in a row, and in the first election, big tech was on one side. In the second election, they were on the other side. And it swung. I don't know if that was the only metric, but it certainly couldn't have hurt, right? And the European countries are looking at that, and they're like, oh, we might be on the wrong side.
German activists sue X demanding election influence data. Okay. I think it's far more it would be far more productive to sue X demanding to know what sort of data was given to law enforcement on both sides, because if you liked a post about, like, say, Luigi, you're like, someone is trawling and collecting that data, which is alarming.
It's probably a big database.
And another weekly edition that we're probably going to have, at least for the foreseeable future, is Elon Musk arguing with the plebs and taking it nuclear every single time.
Reddit community banned as user spat with Musk intensifies. So you can't post a link to that community anymore.
This was white people Twitter. I think it's back now, though.
Somebody pointed out to him that's like, this is not a good look.
I don't think he cares about PR. Like, I don't know.
Oh, but he hates it when people make fun of him.
He does.
This was memes. So, like, they make memes. It's like, here's the white people behaving this way.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's the people making fun of him. I think it's when the hypocrisy is so blatant that somebody that is as dumb as a stump can see the hypocrisy.
Well, that's kind of what a meme does, right? It boils it down to where it's like, and the people who are just mind-numbingly scrolling through, they see it and they're like, wait a minute.
I think all of us are feeling, the meme where, like, the frog person has tripped and his nuggets and milk have spilled all over the floor. I think all of us are feeling that in 2025. It's like, I can relate to that.
I'm the frog who lost his nuggies.
I still got my nuggies. I'm enjoying the show.
Well, as long as, as bird flu doesn't take off.
I don't have any eggs.
Yeah.
Well,
we do have nuggies for now.
The stolen infected eggs that we've got to cover in the nonsense section are being used to make sure that, it's just, what a crazy time, y'all.
Although my Amazon subscribe and save order this week, the hipster chicken broth that I get sold out. I don't have any.
Oh.
Wow.
Probably because of the
Probably.
cullings.
Something bad, so I get generic Honey Nut Cheerios, speaking of, like, subscribe and save, and something bad has happened to the factory that makes those, because they've gone from a reasonable facsimile of Honey Nut Cheerios to just like, this is cardboard.
They don't have any employees.
No, well, the normal Cheerios are kind of cardboard, so maybe there's a mix-up.
No, it looks like somebody just like took like a tortilla and rolled it into a cylinder and then just sliced it with a bandsaw, and it's like, is this like...
They're very chunky
They
Cheerios.
check the ingredients, because those are supposed to be oats, right?
Yeah.
More and more, they're putting wheat into those formulations.
Well, if they've switched from oat to wheat, I do not care for wheat nut Cheerios.
Oat cereal is always better.
Yeah.
I do like oatmeal. On that thought, tell us about your favorite cereal below.